Thor Total War is here, and here we are with another tier list roster for the Beastmen this time. And we are starting with the Slaughternhorn tribe, and obviously it's the strongest faction of the Beastmen. They are super aggressive. They can take out pretty much anyone with the starting army that they have around them, and also the momentum mechanic for Taurox just makes the faction super easy and super satisfying to play. And then we do have the Morghur's faction, which is alright, and actually all the factions that are not Taurox's faction go to the carry the campaign tier because they all have something unique about them. So let's go to the previews of them. So Morghur's faction is giving him extra chaos spawn, and he can boost the chaos spawn quite a bit. And actually, if it's in his army, the chaos spawn is not terrible. And I will be actually not putting the chaos spawn as a useless unit for Beastmen, because it's quite alright, especially considering the fact that we do not have a penalty of upkeep cost for them. So overall, he has extra boost for replenishment, he spreads extra corruption, and he is reducing the cost of the all horde buildings. And then Malagor the Dark Omen, he has reduced cost of all heroes, he has extra campaign movement range for all armies, and he can get better mages early on. And on top of that, he is also a really good hero for the Beastmen. So if I were to rate the lords for the Beastmen, obviously Taurox is the best. His rampage mechanic is just insane, and the raiding stance, and also the River of Blood mechanic, just insane. He can do so much by himself and with his Minotaurs, and he is starting with 3 Minotaur units. That's actually super strong. Okay, so let's go back to the tier list, and Taurox, obviously one of the strongest heroes in the game. And then we do have Malagor. Malagor is also super strong. He is an amazing caster. He can just fly circles around the enemy army and cost a super cheap Flock of Doom. And Morghur is also an amazing lord because he has built in Mortis Engine effect. And then Khazrak the One Eye, he is not as strong. So it's actually a Taurox tier. So I do think they are going to here, but to the very top. And then we do get the 3 different types of generals for the Beastmen. And we do have the Blood Bull. And he is a strong general. He can do quite a lot. He's not as strong as Taurox, but he can do quite a lot. But do have that in mind that the Doombull is mostly anti-infantry lord. And if you want to be taking out enemy lords, you want to send a regular Beastman lord. And also the Shaman. And I do actually rank them a bit lower because it is quite easy for the Beastmen to just get access to the regular hero Shamans. So this lord is a bit weaker in terms of the campaign, my opinion, because the heroes are not as strong as the lords. And obviously the lord is gonna be better if it's a melee lord, because he will be able to take on other enemy lords. Gorebull is a great addition to every Beastman army. He provides quite good utility of breaking the enemy lines because he's quite large and he can get buffed by his skill tree quite a lot. So overall he is providing a great tool for the Beastman. And then the Wargor. And Wargor again, he can buff certain units in the army. And on top of that, we can later on let him ride a chariot. So he is gonna provide quite good utility for the army. And he can actually hold his own against most of the enemy heroes if he is on foot. If he's in a chariot, then you want to mostly utilize him versus the infantry of the enemy and to just boost morale of your troops. And then the Shaman is super strong. The lore of Beastmen is quite powerful, especially considering that some of their spells don't really target your own troops. And overall, great addition to the roster as well. And the Ghorgon. The Ghorgons are super powerful. And since again we are playing Beastman, then pretty much all you are limited by is on how much dread you get. And you can absolutely doomstack those units. And Ghorgon is absolutely amazing. And the other one is not so amazing because you can get only one. Then the Cygor. Cygor is super good. It's a great artillery piece, and also it can protect itself from the enemy. So yeah, overall, I would recommend getting them whenever you can. And then we do have the Jabberslythe. Jabberslythes are, again, great monstrous unit that has an amazing animations, and it's super fun to watch them rummage through the battlefield. And as you can see, the trend, almost all the Beastman units are actually going to be carrying the campaign, because Beastman campaign is extremely easy if you survive first 10 turns. If you can raise your perform your first ritual, you're pretty much set for the entire game. Sorry about that, I thought I have turned the Discord off. It was just a announcement from RTK Citadel about some kind of tournament. And then we do get the Preyton. And Preyton, again, the same as in the Slaanesh roster, it's a great unit that you want to utilize against missile-heavy factions. And the Chimeras are still absolutely broken from the Norscan patch. They are disgusting. They're absolutely disgusting. And if you can get them, do get them. And based on Kislev's previous review, the Beast Elemental is super powerful as well. It has absolutely the same stats as the one from Kislev. And I do believe that it can be boosted slightly more than the one from Kislev. And yeah, this is a giant. And giants, so you could be getting them, like, you can get one giant that is available because of your limits, but I would not recommend getting any more, because giants always suffer from the same thing. They are super easy to kill by missile units. So if you can get one, because it doesn't cost you anything, but don't spend any more dread on getting more giants. And the Chaos Spawn. The Chaos Spawn, depending on which Beastman army it is in, is either a Taurox level threat or a unit that is alright. They are actually not that bad in the Beastmen roster because, again, you don't have any upkeep that you spend on them. And the Cockatrice is a decent early game flyer that you can add to your roster if you feel like you need a flying unit. But since it's a lower tier unit, I do not consider it that crucial. And then we do have the Manticore. And Manticore, I don't like Manticores. I do not like Manticores because they do have the rampage mechanic, which mostly makes them suicide themselves into the enemy lines, no matter what you do, especially if the enemy has a lot of ranged units. And they are not a great unit. I wouldn't recommend getting them overall. So don't spend your dread on them. If you can get one, do get one because they will usually perform better than the Angors. But they will still perform absolutely terrible if they are facing anything better than goblins. And are those Razor Gores or Tusk Gores? Their images are absolutely the same. Razor Herd is quite strong in terms of what they can do if they are unbothered by enemy missiles before they get into the enemy formation. But again, they do have a feral rage. So if they lose 25% of their health, they will start rampaging. And they are rather a shock troops than the flanking troops. So they can get great results as long as they don't decide to suicide themselves into a unit of spearmen or halberdiers, because the ranged unit will shoot at them. So I would say that they are situational, and I wouldn't generally be getting them in my armies just because they can be unpredictable depending on how much damage they get from the enemy. And then we got the Harpies, and the Harpies can be good, can be useful, and can be utilized. However, they are just not for me. They are just not for me, and I would just prefer to have the Warhounds, either poison or the normal variant. And I would say that the normal variant is at the end of the B tier, and the poison variant is somewhere between the Chaos Spawn and the Cockatrice, just because they can debuff the enemies that they flank or the ranged units that they get on top of. And Razor and Tusgor Chariots. They are chariots, they require quite a bit of micro, and since the Beastman army already requires quite a bit of micro because we have a faction that mostly wants to fight in melee, and we also want to be pulling those flanks with most of our units. So don't take me wrong, they are a great addition to the roster, especially in Khazrak's army, but I don't enjoy microing the chariots in campaigns. Usually, mostly due to the fact that AI is quite good at bringing a lot of spearmen to the battlefield. So yeah, they can be good. They are not for me. And then Minotaurs, and all Minotaurs, absolutely with no exception, they are going to Taurox tier. So they can be Doomstack in normal Beastmen armies. In Taurox army, They are absolutely insane, unstoppable meat grinders. And now we do have all different variants of the Centigores. And all of them are decent at doing what they are supposed to do, that is, flanking the enemy and winning those fights. However, I do value the ranged variant the highest, and all others are going behind them, because they do get almost the same stats, at least at the very beginning, with the exception of this one having slightly better melee defense. And obviously they do have also a slightly better charge bonus. But the thing is, almost nothing will catch the Centigores, especially due to the fact that they do have perfect vigor as long as they have 50% leadership remaining. So the skirmish variant can absolutely dish out tremendous amounts of damage, and then they can be decent at getting on top of the enemy as well. So they do provide way more value than the other variants. And what are you doing up here? Get back there. And now we do have Bestigors, and Bestigors can be absolutely powerful. Especially if you are boosting them with Hero and with the Khazrak, the One Eye. They do get Vanguard deployed in his army, if I remember correctly. Yes, absolutely. They get the Vanguard deployed in Khazrak's army, and I do believe that he is buffing them quite a bit as well. And also, he is giving the poison attacks for all anger units. So if you get few of the ranged angers, you will be able to poison the front line, and those bestigers will perform even better. Alright, the Khorne. The Khorne are the strongest of the Gore units. They are extremely good at holding the line and grinding through the enemy because they are Khorne unit. Overall, all Khorne units will perform super well. And the Slangors are also amazing, and you get them quite early because you only have to get your recruitment building to tier 2 to be able to recruit one of each. And the same goes for the other Gore devoted units, so Pestigors and the Zangors. And they are, in my opinion, absolutely in this order: the Khorne, the Slangors, the Pestigors, and the Zangors. The Zangors, in theory, they should be quite tanky, but they do, in my experience, route the earliest out of them all. And the Khorne can be absolutely dropped into the middle of the fight and they will hold their own, while the Slangors should be used as a flanker unit, and they will also excel in this role. And then we do have a regular Gore units, and I do absolutely see no point of getting them since we do have the devoted Gores. So they can be used if instead you'd have to be using the Angers, but they are not really providing great value unless they are fighting something that is slightly weaker than them. And then we do have the Angor herds of all different types, and I do have a strong opinion about the Angers. don't get them ever, with the exception for the Angor Raiders. And the reason why, the Angor Raiders have almost the same stats as the Angor Herds, but they do have missile damage. And they stock and they are quite fast. So in most case scenarios, unless you are facing a rush heavy faction, you can get them out of unfavorable engagements, and they will provide 3 times the value as the Angor herds. So yeah, they go to carry the campaign, especially early on. You want them, you want a lot of them in your army. And now let's do something that we didn't do before. Let's go into the game and talk about the army compositions. So let's open the skirmish versus AI. So this is my proposed endgame Beastmen army, with a addition of a Gorebull or Wargor, depending on what we have leaned on heavily in here, and in this case Gorebull, so he can go with those Minotaurs and they can wreak havoc even more. So we do have few units if we wished to protect our caster from the enemies, and then we do have our chargers, so they are supposed to get in, start the fight, wreak havoc, and then we do have specialized monsters. And it's absolutely amazing how much utility you can have just because you can have all those different monsters. So if the enemy has large units that would be trying to threaten your heroes or lords, just put Ghorgon next to them and they will do absolutely nothing to them. Ghorgon is amazing. And the Incarnate Elemental of Beasts, amazing unit again, anti-infantry. And for the early game, we are going with something slightly different. So let's say you're playing a campaign as Khazrak, and unfortunately you have lost all your units. Let's say you're tier 2 and you cannot recruit much, but you have access to some things. So we do get all 4 of those Gore units. We probably have access to get a Shaman of some kind. And then what do? We just fill the army with Angors. And your task in this fight is make the enemy come to these units and flank them with archers. So you shoot from all directions at the backs of your enemy, and you win easily like that. And then a tier 3 army for the Beastmen would look as following. So we would have the Khorne Gores and Slaanesh Gores already, because they are tier 2 units. You can get them early on. You only need 3rd tier of Ruination to be able to expand their limit cap. And then we could get some Centigors already. Great unit again. And we could fill up a army with some Minotaurs. Let's say we don't have much of them available yet, but we can also probably get a giant. And we can definitely get some Bestigors for this holding the line. And overall, the Beastmen, especially later on, are not as much based on what is strong, but more on what is available. So let's say we run out of unit caps, but we can recruit some units of tier 3. Then I would drop some Chaos Spawn in. I would probably get a Razorgor Herd as well as Razorgor Chariot, because I have the ability to get them. So this army requires a bit more of a mindset that is not exactly what you would learn in other campaigns. So you just get the best units possible for your army, depending on the availability of said units. Kind of similar as you would be playing the Tomb Kings, but the Beastmen are way stronger than Tomb Kings. Alright, so let's go back to the unit roster. There you have it, lads. Drop a comment, like, and subscribe for more rosters like this. And see you next week.